It's the NFL Week 9 Survivor Pools. You have made it to the video that gives you the most unique analysis of Survivor Pools. We're going to get you to the finish line and hopefully win you all of that money on Scratching and Surviving. Coming up next. All right, guys, it is Week 9 in the NFL. If you are new to this channel, welcome. We really appreciate it. Give us a subscribe and follow. You know what? Don't even do it now. Wait till the end of the video if you think there's some value in what I'm showing you guys here. And for those of you who are returning, I know a lot of you, I can see the analytics here on each one of the videos. A lot of you guys are returning each and every week, and that means the world to us. Lets me know at least that what I'm doing for you guys is has some value because you guys are subscribed and then you're back each and every week. You know, Survivor Pool type videos don't do well as the season goes on because people start dropping out of their pools, but we're picking up people each and every week on these videos. And also inside the Sharp app, which is tremendous. You guys are using the code Survivor and you're getting 20% off on the pro subscription to the Sharp app. For those of you who are into any sort of sports betting, you're going to want to get the Sharp app. There's the QR code right there. Just download it. And I don't want to get too deep into what we've got going on there, but for all your handicapping needs, especially prop betting, we've got something called the Proptimizer, which I helped design. You're going to want to check that out. Any questions, you can hop in our Discord or just leave a comment down below. I'm happy to answer any questions on the app, Survivor Pools. You guys understand the drill. So let's just jump into this week and what we've got going. I think it's a fairly, I don't want to say it's an easy week. It's never an easy week, but I think easy in the sense that we don't have a ton of decisions to make this week in Survivor Pools. Let's jump right into the Survivor grid as we do each and every week and see what we've got going on. You can see right away, let's just look at that pick percentage. First of all, the top two teams being picked here are combined almost 85% of these teams, of these picks, are going towards both New Orleans and Cleveland, with Cleveland garnering over 50% of the picks right now. Typically, you know, we're going to want to fade these type of plays because in a small pool, especially, there's going to be a good chance if you're not on New England, New Orleans, or Cleveland, you may be the only one. If there's 10 people left in your pool, there's a good chance every one of them is going to be on either one of these two teams. So if you have the ability to maybe get off those teams, and we'll look at maybe which teams you can get move on to off of New Orleans and Cleveland in a second. But if you can go contrarian, typically, you guys know in smaller pools, I like to take the largest favorite in smaller pools and let other people get contrarian, let them start to drop out of the pool a little bit at a time. But when you find yourself in a situation where you can win the pool taking a relatively strong team while others are going to be packed in on teams, on another team or teams, that gives you some leverage in your pool. So let's look at the team I would look to in small pools. Now, you probably, there's a good chance you don't have this team available to you, which is part of the reason they're not being taken at a high percentage. But if you have Baltimore available to you, I think this is an opportune time to take them in smaller pools, really in all formats. Again, there's a good likelihood that you do not have Baltimore, which is why they're being taken at a small percentage. So if you already have taken Baltimore and you're in a small pool, I would then get on New Orleans. But take a look here. Now, this EV calculation is really based on the fact of how many people are taking this team and what the probability of this team winning is. So you can see 1.4, anything over 1 is giving you a positive EV. It's sort of another way of saying the leverage. So all of these teams are really giving you positive EV because there's so many teams on these two. There's so many people on the New Orleans and Cleveland side. So it gives you an opportunity if either of those teams, and if, you know, by chance both of these teams were to lose, anyone taking these other teams is going to be in a crazy envious position. So that's why you strongly want to look at those things. Now, it bit us in the butt a few weeks ago when we were looking at Tampa, and they came up short in their game against Atlanta. But these are chances you have to take in these pools. Very few of these pools, actually none of these pools, do you ever join the pool as a favorite. You're typically, I mean, even the smallest pool is going to have maybe 10 people in the pool, and you're still only, if you have one entry, you're only a 1 in 10 chance of winning that pool. You're never going to be a favorite to win. And most of you watching this are in larger pools. You have a very slim chance of ever winning those pools. Even if you put in 100 or 200 entries in a pool that's got 5,000 to 10,000 people in it, you're still a very slim chance of winning that pool. So at some point, you do have to take risk. In order to gain any sort of really good reward and a high payout in any aspect, whether you are investing in real estate or you're investing in the stock market or you're gambling or survivor pools or whatever it is, if there's a large prize, and in order to obtain that large prize, you only have to put in a little bit of money, there's going to be a significant amount of risk that you're going to have to take in order for that to be achieved, because they don't just hand these things out, right? So when we are at a disadvantage, we need to take risk. We're at a disadvantage really the moment that we enter the pool. So we're going to at some point need to take some risks. Now, the reason that we tone the risk back when we're in smaller pools is for the same reason. We have a chance now when we're one of 10 people. While we are still an underdog, we do have a 10% chance that we're going to win this pool. So we don't want to get too far off the path of maybe where everyone else is going to be, because we don't want to be the one that's out there. We don't want to be the zebra that's painted red. I don't know if you ever heard the story of the people, the researchers who were studying zebras in Africa, and it was hard to differentiate which zebra was which, so they painted one of them red. And then when you paint the zebra red, what happened was the lions would attack that zebra that had that red stripe on it, because they were easily able to focus on that stripe, right? So we don't want to be the red zebra and be out there by ourselves when it's a small group, because we're going to get picked off by the lion. But we can do it when the group is really, really large, because it's going to be a lot tougher for that lion to find us when there's thousands of zebras in the pool, right? The lion's going to go for the zebra that's maybe closest to them. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So we want, typically in the small pools, to kind of stay the course, stay the grain, stay with the grain here. But in a situation like this week, if you do have Baltimore available to you, we're not getting that far out of school here with Baltimore. Baltimore has a 70% chance of winning. And you could see that 76. Now, the probabilities are going to be a little bit different. You guys know that I use the Sharp app and I get the midpoint. So I'll show it to you on my spreadsheet here. I get the midpoint of the lines on the Sharp app, and that's how I come up with my win probabilities. Now, it's not going to be that far off from what they have, but really the midpoint of the money line is going to be a much more accurate depiction of what the probability is for a team to win. So you see I've got New Orleans at 76 and about 77% for Cleveland and just about 70% for Baltimore. So yes, while Baltimore has a less likely chance of winning, they do have less or more future value. If you're in a small pool, I'm not as concerned with the future value. So I would consider Baltimore here as a play in smaller pools. Now, I'm not going to be upset if you're going to want to take New Orleans or Cleveland in a smaller pool. It does make sense. Now, if you're going to go that route of taking one of the big chalky teams, I would prefer you take New Orleans here. Why? Because, one, they're being taken at a smaller percentage than Cleveland, and that's really the main factor. And while this has them at a slight, they're a slightly less favorite to win here, and my sheet has that as well. It's really fairly inconsequential, the difference here between the two teams. So I would lean more towards New Orleans, because if we can get the Cleveland loss, it's going to knock more people out of your pool and give you a lot more equity in your pool, and maybe get you within, if you had 10 people in your pool, maybe you'll be one of 3 left if Cleveland were to lose, in which case that gives you really strong chance of being able to win the pool. You know, even with 3, you're still a dog, right? You're not ever going to be a favorite necessarily to win the pool until you actually win it. Unless you have 2 entries out of the 3, of course, then you would be a favorite to win. But it's going to be very rare for those situations to happen. But it gives you more chances to hedge. So I like that as an option. If I was going to take New Orleans or Cleveland, I would definitely lean towards the New Orleans side, for the reason that let's get off the team that everybody else has. Now, if we look at the sheet here and we change let's change it up to 50% for future value weighting. And you see Baltimore, still a play here that I would look at. Now, New England becomes, kind of pops up here as a 4th choice. Let's take a look at New England on Survivor Grid and see what we've got going on with New England. When we look at New England here, 3-point favorite this week. Not a tremendous large favorite. They're going to be about a 60% chance to win. But do we have any opportunities to take them again? We're probably not going to take them against Indy next week. Then they have the bye. At the Giants, unlikely. Chargers, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Denver. Like, there's no real chance until we get to week 18. And that's only going to be a factor in very large pools where you're going to get to week 18. Most likely this pool in small and mid pools will end before week 18. And so we're not going to worry about that. And plus in week 18, who knows what teams are doing as far as playoffs and who's playing, who's not playing. I mean, just look at this week. A team like Atlanta is a team that most people, you were not thinking about taking them against Minnesota. Now all of a sudden Minnesota, no quarterback. And Atlanta here pops up as a potential play. Now, we can look to Atlanta as possibly taking that as a team as well this week with a really nice EV possibility. So I don't mind that. That's why 2.2% of people are taking Atlanta. But New England, like nobody's taking New England as a team that's not that far off from Atlanta. I kind of like this play more than I like Atlanta. You've got the Chargers here. Let's take a look at what their future looks like. You've got them at the Jets this week as a 3.5-point favorite. And I don't particularly love the game. Again, I don't want to start analyzing games. I strictly want to look at the probability of a team winning. So then they've got Detroit. We're not going to love that one. Green Bay, Baltimore, at New England, maybe, in week 13. Let's kind of see how week 13 shapes up. You got Kansas City, Tampa. Most likely you have Tampa going to be available to you. Pittsburgh, if you don't take them this week, will probably be available to you. So you're going to have options come week 13. Let's see what else we've got going on for the Chargers here. You've got Denver in week 14. So there's going to be some chances here to take the Chargers as well. I just think New England is the team here. When we look at teams in this range, it's like people don't want to take New England because they're not that strong a team. I get that, but we have to look at the numbers here, and they have just about the same likelihood of winning as the Chargers do, yet you're going to have more people take the Chargers, and they're not that far off from Atlanta, and yet more people, more than double, maybe 3 times as many people are going to be on Atlanta. Now, another team that people are taking is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a less chance of winning than a team like New England does. And can we use Pittsburgh again? Like, Pittsburgh, there's possibility here. Now, you're going to get Kyler Murray back by week 13, so this may not be a week that people are going to want to take them, but we'll see what Kyler Murray looks like at that point. But they're going to be home against New England. Again, listen, as we get deep into the pool, you're not going to have strong options, but let's see what week 14 looks like as far as against New England. There's going to be a lot of options here just from the look of it, depending on which of these teams. Now, New Orleans, if we don't take them this week, that's going to be an option in week 14. Cincinnati may not have taken, but next week kind of looks like a really good one for Cincinnati. So you're going to have to look at your own pools here. But if I was going to get super contrarian, to me, New England's the choice. I'm going to leave myself some other options here that look like they have some better future value, and I would get on New England. So really, your options this week are, do I get chalky? If I do get chalky, and I've probably got New Orleans and Cleveland available to me, if I want to be chalky and I don't have either one of these, obviously the choice is to flip onto the other one. But if I have my choices, I'm going to want to be on New Orleans this week if I want the chalkier pick. And I think that's okay in all formats, to be honest with you. But in the smaller pools, or in the pools of the actual larger pools, I should say, I think you seriously need to take into consideration a team like New England, certainly Baltimore. If you have Baltimore available to you, I think you hammer Baltimore this week. Very few people have that choice available to you. I'm not worried about their future value. We can look at it quickly on Survivor Grid just to see who Baltimore has. You know, you're going to obviously have some choices to on Baltimore next week, but it's like, if people can't take them this week, they're not going to be able to take them in the future either. So, you know, you're saving these teams because you want to have a good team available to you at some point in the future. And this really opens itself up for a great leverage spot with a very good team who has a 70% chance of winning. So it's not about saving them for the best possible moment to take them, which might be week 14 against the Rams, where they may be a big favorite, or even week 18. To me, it's finding the highest leverage spot. Now, you're going to be in a really good leverage spot in week 14 as well, or week 18 with Baltimore. So it's going to be your choice as whether you want to wait there. But I hate waiting this far. If I could get some chaos up top and I've got a team like Baltimore available to me, this is going to be an opportune time. Let's just take a quick look at 14. Now, they're going to be the largest favorite that week with teams that a lot of people have taken already. So yes, in a super large pool, you can make the argument where you might want to save Baltimore and get on one of these other teams like New Orleans if you have Baltimore available to you. I can get down with that. Again, real hard to, as we get further and deeper into these things, real hard for me to tailor these videos exactly to you. So what I need for you guys to do is just leave a comment down below. You guys do this every week. You crush it. And I get to each and every one of you guys in the comments down below. And you tell me exactly how many people are left in your pool, especially if you're down to a small number of people. Then I want to know what other people can take, because that's going to influence who you take as well. We could talk about hedging options. Give me your scenarios down below in the comments. I'll help you hedge. I'll help you make your pick this week. And hopefully we'll get you all the way to the finish line. That's it for me this week. We will be scratching and surviving once again next week. Hopefully you guys are here with me. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you made it this far, you like what you saw, do me a favor, subscribe and like this video. It means the world to us and it helps this channel grow. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week.